The great thing about the Porsche 911, there are so many facets to it. There's heritage, performance, design, engineering, air-cooled, water-cooled, racing, pop culture. Each and every aspect could be a book 10 times over. Thing is, there isn't just one 911, there are variants, and while all are turbocharged, this is the new turbo, and obviously a cabriolet, which is lovely wherever the sun shines often. I happen to live in the Pacific Northwest, where we get a whole lot of this.
As you might imagine, this is not an inexpensive car. The 911 Turbo begins at $172,000. Add $13,000 for the Cabriolet. As tested, any guesses? $228,000. Yeah, $1,000. Ouch.
In other words, searching the couch cushions for spare change won't help. Also futile, getting a Targa model with a turbo badge. Let's dive right into the powertrain. For starters, it runs with all-wheel drive to put maximum power to pavement. How much? The new Turbo 992 model's 3.8-liter flat-six twin-turbo engine that is heard but not seen pumps out more oomph. 572 horsepower. And 553 pound-feet of torque. Unlike the engine in the outgoing 991.2, all power is always available. No need to go into settings or launch control. Top off the fluids if you'd like here. It has the flat-six boxer precision sound. This is a European spec car. It's not going to be as throaty as a US model. Spotter's guide, Porsche's Sport exhaust would have oval tailpipes. Choose between the magical 8-speed dual-clutch PDK transmission and, well, not getting the car. Turbo isn't available with the manual. This means Sport Chrono package in the Porsche world. That's standard on Turbo. The Sport Response button sets up the powertrain for up to 20 seconds of maximum power, kind of a push-to-pass button. Also standard is rear axle steering and Porsche Active Suspension Management, or PASM. Carbon ceramic brakes are not. Those are $10,500. Finally, rounding out the equipment on this particular car is active roll stabilization, aka Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control, at $3,100. Oh look, perfect convertible weather.
This is the Pacific Northwest and it is going to rain. That's what's happening today, but I did want to show you that the top, which is very, very solid and insulated, lowers and raises pretty quickly even at lower speeds. Also, there's a very cool integrated wind blocker. That is very cool. All right, looks like it is starting to rain, and you know, we're going to be driving with the top up because this car is approaching $250,000 and I don't want to mess up the interior. It's pretty nice.
I only have the car for a short time, so no waiting for dry conditions, and really, convertibles are great in Seattle. We truly appreciate the sun when it peeks out.
There is launch control, but with these wet, slippery conditions, that's not going to be happening today. With it, Porsche claims that the 0 to 60 run happens in 2.8 seconds. It tends to be conservative. That's 0.2 of a second faster than the outgoing model. And even without it, it's pretty easy to say, Auf Wiedersehen. All-wheel drive certainly helps launch this machine securely, but there are the tires to keep in mind.
I do love the sound of power coming from behind me. Active engine mounts stiffen up under hard acceleration, adding a little noise and vibration, but it helps to button the car down even more.
911 has something called wet mode, which is perfect for today. There are microphones in the front fenders that listen for the sound of water, and when that's determined, it adjusts the stability and traction control and then suggests that you manually shift to wet mode, which sends more torque to the front axle and adjusts the aerodynamics. You could just look around, see that it's wet, and drive accordingly, but Porsche helps you out there.
I'd show the front active aero, but all you'd see is a lens full of water from the GoPro. The Turbo S model pumps out an additional 68 horsepower and 37 pound-feet. Its base MSRP is nearly $33,000 more, though it does add more standard kit. And even if conditions were dry, it's unwise to use the full superpowers of the Turbo on public roads simply because it's insanely capable. You never know when a dog might jump out, knock on wood.
Let's talk about the steering. It's very precise and lots of road feel coming up through the wheel. And here's the thing, move the wheel just a millimeter and the car reacts, but it's never nervous, it's never twitchy. Yeah, it's direct, but it's really easy to drive. This could be the best steering that I've ever experienced.
There is the thought that the 992 here has evolved into more of a grand touring car. If so, it's the best handling example of the breed. It's fairly quiet inside, good noises are let into the cabin, the convertible top insulates road noise well.
When it comes to the adaptive dampers, there's a wider range between comfort and sport now. This car could be an everyday driver. I would love to find that out. Porsche, maybe you can give me this car for 6 months. I'm happy to test it out. I really am.
Conditions aren't optimal, but even in normal driving, the Volt-like chassis and mind-meld nature of the Turbo Cabriolet reach deep into your soul. There's nothing quite like a 911. Drive one, and you'll understand.
There may not be a manual transmission, but I gotta say, the PDK may be my favorite gearbox of all time. Lightning fast shifts, it's almost telepathic in operation. If you've never experienced it, you're really missing something.
Not that owners spending north of $200,000 care about fuel economy, but the EPA rates the average of the Turbo at 17 miles per gallon on specified premium fuel.
The 911 Turbo does have an automatic engine stop-start system, and it's pretty darn good. Remember, the engine is in the back, and sometimes it can shut down as you're coming to a stop. It kind of coasts. Restart, pretty smooth, and of course, it can be turned off.
The cockpit is an ideal blend of roomy and intimate. This might not be the color palette I would choose for my personal car, but the craftsmanship is impressive. Keep in mind that part of the lofty price comes from an $11,000 leather interior package. Even the steering column gets love. All storage cubbies get mouse fur to keep rattles down. If you think there's just a single cup holder, no. Passengers have a place for their Perrier, coffee and white leather. That could be a bad combo. Heated wheels are especially welcome on cold, sunny days. The supportive seats are heated, vented, and adaptive in this case. Porsche has perfected the art of option spiraling. Changing gauge faces to white here is $420 each. Specifying seatbelt hue, that's $540. Good money if you can get it. There's a lightweight design package on the Turbo Coupe that saves some 66 pounds with carbon fiber bucket seats and roof, lightweight glass, and a rear seat delete. You can expect that evil twin will not be showing up to park his butt here. This particular car is a German spec machine, so I'm not spending a lot of time with the interface since the Navi doesn't have North American maps and all, but between the piano key buttons and excellent screen response, Porsche's configurable user interface is solid, right down to an easy-to-use HVAC system with tactile switchgear.
If you wanted a practical Porsche, you'd be buying a Cayenne or a Macan, but 911 is just fine if you want to go on a weekend road trip. Here's something kind of cool.
Of course, the key needs to be nearby. I don't even need to go to Costco since I happen to have a pack in my personal stash. That or a carry-on suitcase and a couple small duffels will fit. And for those that travel with steamer trunk volumes of luggage, the back with the classic 911 flip-down backs can be pressed into service. Not a lot of cargo space, but it'll get the job done. As for design, what can I say? This is a 911, which ties Jeep Wrangler for the most recognizable automotive silhouette on planet Earth, even with the Cabriolet roofline. It's a classic cultural statement. This being a European car, it has active LED headlamps that are not legal in the US because, well, the NHTSA has dropped the ball on allowing the best and safest lighting. That is a shame. I never had the chance to test the wind blocker at speed. Most of the time I had the car, it was raining. So if you own one, leave a post in the comments to let us all know what wind management is like at freeway speeds, okay? Around town, it's perfectly wonderful. Time for red light, green light. Green lights. It's a turbo 911, and that sums it up. It's fast, refined, and heroically capable. The interior is a no-compromise space, stitched and screwed together with precision and top-grade materials. The timeless teardrop design has never gone out of style, and never will. Yellow lights? Well, the turbo is all the power you'll ever need, but some will still second-guess themselves by not going with the Turbo S. I love the PDK transmission, but there will be some that want the engagement of a manual. Turbo owners won't care about fuel economy, but it does have the efficiency of a Ford F-150. Red lights. Well, this shouldn't surprise anyone. The price tag, which keeps it out of reach for mere mortals, and it's a sports car, so it's not practical when it comes to cargo hauling. I'm obviously reaching for criticism since this is an exceptional vehicle. Whether it's the hardtop or cabriolet, piloting the Porsche 911 Turbo is a revelation. Personally, I've come to love the dynamic of electric cars like Taycan, but there's no denying that the mechanical perfection of the twin-turbo flat-six that greets the ears is an automotive opioid. It's hard to say no to this.
While it's true, not an awful lot of people can afford the Porsche 911 Turbo Cabriolet, especially at $228,000 as tested. It might be kind of a bargain when you consider the Ferrari Portofino starts at $250,000. I'm just saying.
This machine writes the book when it comes to performance and prestige, and still delivers usability and shelter from the storm. The 911 Turbo Cabriolet has pretty much everything, except a low price and practicality. No one is going to feel sorry for me, I know that, but I'm going to point out that shooting a moving vehicle in the rain is no treat. I don't care about getting wet. I live in Seattle. It's a thing. But keeping the car clean means constantly wiping it down. Seriously, went through a couple dozen microfiber towels. I have weird expenses. Videos might be poor places to show these things, but nerd alert, the engine is modular, ranging from the 2-liter 4-cylinder all the way up to the 4-liter flat 6. I'll point out that the compressor and turbine wheels in the modular flat 6 now rotate in opposite directions on the right and left sides. And due to slightly larger turbine and compressor wheels, airflow for both the exhaust and intake is improved. Part of why the Turbo 911 992 is more powerful than the outgoing 991.2. Those numbers being the internal references. Porsche people like that. My neighbor has an old 911 that's really cool because it's rough around the edges. One door is even a different color. His daughter was born a Porsche girl. That's the right way to bring kids up.
Should I tell Dad to wrap it up?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Well, another rain squall is coming in. Time for me to go. Sorry, no fun fact. I think a car this cool is fun enough, right? But let me just say this. Special thanks to Martin Campbell. He came out and drove the car so I can shoot running footage. What a great job I've got, huh? You know, I may not have millions of subscribers. I know some of you think that I should, but really, I get to play with great cars like this. I get to play with cameras. It's a pretty dang good gig. Yeah? Yeah. That's Driven. I'm Tom Voelk.